Hi, and welcome to the Fourth U Dimension podcast. My name is Ember Kelly. I'm the Director of Religious Education here at the Fourth Universalist Society. And we are really excited to get back to doing regular monthly-ish, we're calling it monthly-ish, but at least regular podcast, going over different topics, talking about different things going on, whether it's in the life of our congregation or in the broader world or some sort of educational topic. And it's great to get to be back, both doing these as video and audio podcasts. So they'll be available on YouTube as well as wherever you consume your podcast. I think we're on most all of them. So I'm really excited because I have a very special guest with me today. Our very own, I almost said Reverend Soyal Smalls, our very own Director of Membership and Hospitality, Soyal Smalls, is with us today. Soyal, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Ember, for having me on your podcast. And, maybe you're putting something into my future by suggesting that I am a reverend. So we'll think about that. We'll think about my education.
I just can't have you beating me to it, okay? Like,
we'll go to school together.
Okay, sounds good.
So thank you. So yes, I am the Director of Membership and Hospitality here at Fourth Universalist Society. And for those of you who are not familiar with that role or not familiar with Fourth Universalist Society or Unitarian Universalism, I'll give you a little bit of information about what I do here for this congregation. So a lot of folks, when they come in and they're looking for a place for spiritual worship or a spiritual home or just finding that kind of connection with like-minded people, I'm one of the first faces that you're going to meet when you walk into the building. So I'm there to greet you. I'm there to give you some pointers of where to find information about Unitarian Universalism or about our particular congregation. Also, I like to support all of our creature comforts. So if you need to know where the bathroom is, where to hang up your clothes or your coat or put away your umbrella or strollers, if you need to have something to eat or nosh on before or after service, these are these comforts to help you relax and be in the space for worship together during service on Sunday. And another thing that I do after you have found your space and you're getting comfortable with the practice of coming to our congregation on Sundays, if you're looking for a little bit more involvement, I'm also a person that you can talk to help you learn about the different areas of becoming more involved in community here at Fourth Universalist Society.
Yeah, and so community is the key word for this month's podcast, because so this year, as I really step back to think about my goals with both the kids' religious education program, but also the adults as well, because with the kids, it's kind of long been my philosophy that the kids have a lot of things going on in their lives. They don't need another day of schooling. They don't need another day of home feeling like they have homework
Yeah.
or that they have to behave a certain way. They need a community and they need a place where they feel safe because that isn't always the case at school. And so that's kind of always been my philosophy that community building comes first in terms of young folks RE. But this year, I've also been really thinking about what that means for our adult RE, whether that's offering programs specifically about community, which I'm like working on a program thinking about like uh, working with some friends who are union organizers who will talk about like organizing in religious spaces. Or we had a collaborative event yesterday with the UU Ministry for Earth. When we were recording this, it was yesterday. It might be a little bit further out when you get to hear this. But so we just had a collaborative event, and that's all about building connections in the wider community. That event was like in the West Side Rag, so it was in like our local like kind of area, and just focusing really a lot on what it means to be in community, how we build community, launching something like the New Moon intention setting is like a space to build
Perfect.
intentional
Yes.
community. And so, just community has really been on my mind, which so as I thought about that, I thought that having you on as my first guest would make the most logical choice of all, like to
Oh,
have the person who
thanks.
thinks about community a lot here in our community. Um, so
Yeah,
what
yeah.
yeah, what does it mean to be a part of the Fourth U community?
Well, this is one of the things that I've been working on, and it's something that doesn't happen automatically. We're all coming from different backgrounds and different ways of interacting with people. And for me, having a background in sociology as well as having a background in non-for-profit management, we're always like looking at systems, and we're looking at how we are affected and impacted by systems. And our first system that we experience is our family.
Mm.
And those relationships can they create a lot of habits for us, whether they're good habits or bad habits, or habits. I maybe not so much bad habits, but habits that are no longer useful for us. So maybe they were useful for a time and a space, but then after a while they become a hindrance. So I think of the fact that you're working with the young people and our youth and our children here at Fourth Universalist Society, because I think it's a great way to build a foundation of what a community looks like and how to be part of a community. And so sometimes it's really hard for a small family unit to be able to figure out their space or their place in a larger group, right? They're used to only having to like worry about themselves, or even like a family of one, right? How do you go from being a family of one and only responsible for yourself to being part of a spiritual community where there's a lot more people involved, and you're becoming more aware about how your words and your actions are impacting everybody else.
Right.
So some of the things that I want to bring to Fourth Universalist Society is just this idea of like, what gifts that you have to bring? What are things that you can contribute? So it is an exchange, but I want it to be a thoughtful, I want it to be a meaningful exchange. I want it to be a heartfelt exchange. So a lot of people, they're coming from all different places in life. They have a whole lot of different needs, and we do our best to support those needs and figure out how someone can become strengthened by being in this community. But also, I think what helps build strength is being able to learn and recognize the things that you have to offer, the ways that you can give. So it's not just coming and receiving and having your cup filled, continually being filled, but it's also, okay, what is it that I'm doing to pour back into, to put back to the community. So just like our planet, we are all interconnected. And I really take that seventh principle like to heart, in the sense of, if I'm going out in the garden and I'm eating all the apples and I'm eating them, but I don't ever give anything back to the earth, eventually there will be no more apple trees, right? So I'm not ever giving the earth back the seeds to be planted to bring back the apple tree again, right? So it's that same concept of, yes, we're taking to nourish ourselves, but we also need to nourish what the place or the being or the essence that we are taking from. So I do that in a few different ways. And part of it is I want everybody to have a chance to experience what it's like to welcome and greet one another. What does that feel like? What does it feel like to be welcomed and to be received in a positive, warm fashion? And then for every single member to work those muscles. A lot of us, especially here in New York City, are really good at putting blinders up, at avoiding eye contact, putting our earbuds in because we don't want to make those connections with people.
But Fourth U is not the subway.
Yes, Fourth U is not the subway, right? It's not walking up and down the streets constantly being bombarded with buy this flyer or go to the show, right? But here we want to exercise those muscles of being welcoming and being open to others. And that's a real big transition for folks. So this is something it's a slow journey, and not everybody has those tools immediately readily available, but that doesn't mean that they cannot be developed.
Right. When I talked about it a little bit in the message that I gave in August, I almost said October. We're not there yet. That I gave in August of this year, talking about how, friendship and community, it takes vulnerability. It takes that we have to open up with each other, and we have to be willing to make those connections, which is, unlike the subway where you do not want to make those connections.
Right, exactly.
When I oftentimes walk through Times Square on my commute, I put on what I call my New Yorker face, because I'm like I feel very serious. I'm not looking at any of these advertisements, even if they're something I'm passionate about. I am ignoring, and then that way the people with the flyers, they're just like, nope, I'm not going to talk to that person. They do not look like
very focused, right?
And so, being in community requires that vulnerability, and I think it's really important that we cultivate that, and that we care about dedicating our time with one another. And we're also launching some events to we kind of building off of what we did last year of kind of regular recurring community events, whether that's the Elder Spirits time during the community hour, moving our previously called coffee hour to be a community hour.
Exactly. So the idea is that it's about community and community building rather than it being about food and coffee. So, for a while, the idea is that, oh, coffee hour at the end of service, I'm expected to be fed and, have beverages and,
Right.
and that will always happen, right? I'm here to support creature comforts, but I want it to be more than just what food's going to be available at
Right.
the end of service,
How can
right?
we be with
How
each
can
other
we
in this
be with each
time?
other, right? And then
Right.
food and drink, it's secondary, but
Right.
I'm, nourishing my body and then also giving back to getting to know others.
Right. And then, obviously we do offer like the time for kids, whether that's like the gym time, whether that's the classes. But then we're offering space for the young adults, the 18 to 35 range, to like have their like a special meal once a month. And then we are also launching UU for You,
Mhm.
the rebrand of our mini orientations, with a focus really on anybody being able to come and learn more about Fourth U. Because, yes, it might be mainly new people that come, but like even if you've been here for a long time and you have like no clue, like next month you're going to be leading a building tour. A lot of people don't know much about the building. Maybe we got to get, Reverend Jonifer as the interim to come on
Come
your building
on the
tour.
building tour. Yeah, we've had a lot of renovations done. And so a lot of the building has been closed off for quite some time. And so there are a lot of people who have not been
Right.
able to,
Become members in the last few
yeah,
years.
who have not been able to actually see the building. So this is very exciting and see all the new improvements that we've
We
been
take care
working
of our
on.
community
Yeah, right.
because, we acknowledge that the space to hold the space for the community, we have to have a functional space that's not falling
Exactly.
apart, that's not
Exactly.
a leaking roof,
Really,
not a leaking, yeah,
right.
we it's part
Yeah,
of taking care of our community is making sure we have a habitable space to meet in.
exactly.
Um, you know, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's really exciting to like have that opportunity to welcome new folks, but also just acknowledge that maybe even folks that have been going here a while have
Have
questions or
questions, right?
like it's okay to not understand what UUism is. Like I even as someone who is a director of religious education, 3 years in to that work and in my fourth year, like I'm still learning new things too. So it's okay
Good.
to come to these and get to learn about what's going on. And some of them even later in the year are going to be specifically about ways to plug into the community and do volunteering, what kind of efforts and teams and things we
Yeah,
got going on.
exactly. And so the idea, being a friend or being a member, or just being, UU adjacent or someone
Right.
who agrees with UU values, but maybe doesn't identify as a UU, right? So I grew up even within the UU faith, and I still have questions and I'm still learning, which is awesome. And so these different, mini orientations, our UU for You programming is there for anyone on the journey from brand new, like I don't know anything, from the U to the U, right?
First time this Sunday.
Right, to folks who may have grown up in a UU congregation but don't know too much about this specific congregation, right, or how things are changing. So one of the things that we may end up talking about is some of the changes that have come about within our own principles, our living tradition, and how that has changed over the years. And then later on in the year, we're hoping that we can talk a little bit more about leadership. And as you grow within your congregation, what does it look like to be a leader and to take on that role? So it is evolutionary, you're growing. So we hope that, like, in this process of building community, we are helping you build roots so that you can, feel the strong foundation so that you can grow within your journey as a Unitarian Universalist. And so we have different, I guess they're committees. Some of them are committees, some of them are just interest groups. And these are ways that you can plug in and get to know people with similar interests, similar age. And part of what I am hoping that will happen in our UU for You series is that we'll learn from all of our guests ways that they feel that that their spiritual gift.
Mm.
What is it that they feel that they have to offer the community, and whether that be something that has to do with social justice work, or whether that has to do with singing and bringing that musical passion, and that your spirituality comes through singing, or whether your ministry is through food. So we're trying to find what is your spiritual gift, what is your talent, and that will hopefully come about in these series.
Soyal, thank you for all the work you do here in our community, and thank you for taking time to sit down and chat with me today.
Oh, thanks, Ember, for having me. I always enjoy our chats.
I do too.
Bring me back again.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you to all of our listeners as well.